Welcome into the last edition of the opening line report for the 2025-2026 NFL season. Kelly Stewart here. Teddy covers yesterday was Super Bowl Sunday. And it looks like, well, at least from what I can see on my end, Teddy, you didn't have an amazing day, but you didn't have a bad one either. Kind of break down Super Bowl Sunday from your client perspective as we get into it.
This is Kelly. Settle down. Good morning. Welcome. Let's start with this. 178 days from today until the Hall of Fame game.
Okay? Good. I'm going to need it. After yesterday's Super Bowl, Teddy, I'm going to need it. That was not great from a lot of perspectives. I'll just leave it at that. Like I'm still, the reason why I started off asking about you, because I didn't want to talk about me, because I'm mad at myself, the same girl that went on Kelly and Murray and this show and everything else and said the Patriots are frauds. I talked myself into the damn Patriots 2 weeks ago with you on this show. I thought, all right, 5.5. I'll come back on Seattle money line, right? Anyway, so here we are. Now I got to eat crow twice. The Patriots got me regular season and Super Bowl.
178 days till the Hall of Fame game, Kel. Just around the corner. 201 days from today until the start of college football. There's, I think, 4 games at opening college football Saturday at the end of August. I did not give the number of days until the NFL regular season starts. I don't care when the NFL regular season starts yet. We're worried about the Hall of Fame game. That's a taker. So we have 170 days off. When it comes to, well, not off between football games. We don't have 178 days in a row off. Boy, I don't have a real long beard by the time we got back. When it comes to yesterday's game, Kel, and certainly I had New England with you. My props did very well, or they did fine. I went 8-4 with the props. We made money in the props.
Great day.
I was this close to going 10-2 with the props. We didn't get there. It happens. That's got to be Paul Blakeney if it's from Essex, England. Thanks, Paul. We love having you on. We love your comments. We appreciate it very much. But in terms of what we're going to do now for the next 6 months, obviously we take some time off. I'm not an NFL draft guru. Every year I'm like, we're going to do shows for the NFL draft, and then I never end up doing them. It's not my gig. And the guys that beat the NFL draft are active well before the week before the draft to make the best of their money. So I'm not going to give you guys NFL draft content. I'm not the best at that. That said, over the summer, Kelly and I will be back, and we'll be doing division previews. I think last year we did four or five division preview shows, did an overview, and then we did the East, the West, the North, the Souths. We'll do that this summer again. And then obviously for the start of football, for the start of the Hall of Fame game, we'll be back in August each and every Monday morning. So I expect we'll do some shows in June for the preview shows, and then again in August for the start of the Hall of Fame game. And for what it's worth, I wrote it down last night. My target date for the NFL win report, Friday, July 10th. I'm like, we'll see if that comes to fruition. And this year, of course, we lost. In fact, 2 teams that I bet under in the NFL win report. I had New England under 8.5 wins. I had Seattle under 8.5 wins, and they met in the Super Bowl. Well, that's 2 wrong predictions, obviously. Was not a great year for the season wins. That being said, the long-term track record speaks for itself, 105-56 since 2021. Since 2001, I should say. And this was not a great NFL season for me, Cal. You know, it was not a great Super Bowl. Obviously, I had New England plus the points. In New England, they were wrong. And really, it was 3 things. You know, what was wrong with the Patriots? First, obviously, the most surprising thing of all the things Super Bowl to me was that Sam Darnold was the elusive one, and Drake Maye was the one who was a statue back there. You know, Sam Darnold escaped at least half a dozen sacks. At least half a dozen, where there were free rushers about to mess up the Seahawks' day, and Darnold just stepped around him. So some of that may have been New England and they were brushing too hard, but Sam Darnold was elusive, you know, and Drake Maye was just kept, you know, he couldn't step out of any pressure. He kept on getting popped, and then it was 6 sacks for Seattle, you know, where Seattle had on Maye, and I think the Patriots had 1 on Darnold, and that was in the game. The pressure created the turnovers. All 3 turnovers that New England had came from issues where Maye was under pressure. And Darnold didn't make those same mistakes when he was under pressure. So the 6 sacks, the 3 turnovers, and obviously Kenneth Walker was the difference yesterday. And he deserved the MVP award. Congratulations to Dan Alexander, who had Kenneth Walker MVP in his pocket. But Walker was a difference maker in terms of he was the only one to make a big plays all game, and in a game where the defenses ruled early. I mean, New England was live at 19-0. New England wasn't live anymore. They were live at 12-0. They were live 2 drives into the second half, and they just couldn't move the football. And Seattle was able to make enough big plays that they were. So there's some initial thoughts on the game. Kel, have you finished eating yet? Are you ready to talk?
Oh, I've been ready to talk, Teddy. I just didn't want to hijack your show. And listen, there was a lot of things on social media where people are like, oh, well, you said this or you said that. And here's what I try to remind people, right? I was on Radio Row there in San Francisco, and I was like, guys, this is just one game, right? It's fun to have a lot of props. It's fun to do a lot of different things. Last year, I had a lot of money on this game. This year, I just did not. And that is, I think, another reason why I didn't come back on Seattle minus 230. One, that's a little steep for my liking. And 2, I just thought it was going to be a closer game, right?
Yeah, me too.
And you mentioned 12-0. At 12-0, I was just like, I can go to bed, Like I made jokes with my friends. Like we were down south watching the game. I'm like, you guys, I could go to bed. I have to drive home in the morning. I've got a lot of shows I've got to do. And you sit around and you watch. And you're right, 19-0, it just turned on its head. And it was like, okay, this game is over. And I went upstairs and was in the kitchen and started doing dishes so that I didn't have to do them this morning, right? Like it was just one of those games that wasn't that exciting. And that's where it gets kind of difficult. Looking at the comment section, hey, are you going to admit you were wrong about Darnold? Things like that. I'm going to say it. Was Seattle dominant? Sure. Seattle was dominant in that game. Seattle's defense, most importantly, but there was nothing super impressive. I would say this. I would say the Alex Barnard touchdown was a pretty good throw, right? It was a good play call. He was wide open there in the end zone. That was like, okay, there's the Seattle offense we've been waiting for. But you guys mentioned Kenneth Walker. Outside of him, I was kind of cheering for Myers to get the MVP, right? Like I make a lot of jokes about kicking is for losers. And, well, Vrabel punting there late in the third quarter. I thought, all right, Vrabel. All right, this is telling me you're starting to surrender, and that sucks. Yes, it's the right move, but I was hoping to see a coach on the scale of aggressiveness be just a touch more aggressive. I did cash a couple of different prop bets, and a couple were not great, like the Mac Hollins under receiving yards, blew that one out of the water. But
I had Steph Diggs under, and the whole game was perfect. And then all of a sudden they threw that bomb to him at the end. And I'm like, oh my God, did that just ruin it? But no, it wasn't. It was a 26-yard pass. So it wasn't, but that scared the you-know-what out of me.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, there was, and I'm like, geez, now really? Because all the New England props went over in terms of the passing props where they couldn't move the ball at all. And then the fourth quarter, boom, 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 Patriots up and down the field. We'll talk about some of the props in a minute.
Yeah, garbage time is always interesting for these prop bets, right? And that's the scariest part about holding some of these unders. I did have Drake Maye interception, which was great. I had Sam Darnold as well. He did not throw an INT. But if you did have over 1.5 receptions, congratulations to you. That was probably the better bet instead of trying to get 1 and 1. It is what it is. Teddy, we've got some guys in the comment section, little over 700 of you guys watching live here the Monday morning after Super Bowl. If you guys have a question for Teddy, please drop it in the chat. Teddy, I will let you continue to go on about Super Bowl Sunday and how it was for you and the clients.
Sure. Let's talk about some props, and Cal, jump in whenever you see fit. And first of all, guys, am I going to admit that I was wrong about Sam Darnold? Sam Darnold was not great yesterday. Okay, he really wasn't. The 19 incomplete passes were a lot of them were not pretty. And if Darnold was great, it would have been a much bigger blowout than it was. Seattle wouldn't have settled for all those field goals. Drake Maye was bad. But I'm not going to say Sam Darnold was that. There's a reason Sam Darnold, as a winning QB of the Super Bowl team, did not win the MVP. Let's start. Seattle called tails. It landed heads. New England won and deferred.
Teddy, I do want to chime in there. Here's one thing that I did get a text about, and I thought it was really weird. And Ariel and I did talk about it on Radio Row. So I had tails, but I had a different, not a traditional coin flip. Will the team making the call heads or tails? And Seattle on the road, dating all the way back until I think it was week 7 in October. Every time they've been on the road, they've called tails. So that was a nice little cash. Granted, I could only get a few $100 down on it, but that one was fun because I'm cheering and everybody goes, Kelly, it was heads. And I go, but Seattle called tails.
That's awesome. Yeah. A little bit of research goes a long way, doesn't it? It really does. Called tails, landed heads. New England won and deferred. First play of the game was a run. That was good for me. Run versus pass. First run of the game, Kenneth Walker. That went over. Walker's first carry over. Barner's first reception went over. Kupp's first catch went over. The no score props were not great for me because we had no score first, I think 5.5, 6.5, 7.5 minutes. But we also had both Seattle to punt before they scored and New England to punt before they scored. So those two ended up splitting. Seattle did not punt before they scored. They had that field goal drive to open, and then New England did punt before they scored. And then they didn't score again. The rest of the first quarter stayed under in that regard. So, but the one thing that I missed, and it really, I felt like after the game, like, you're such an idiot, or after it happened, I'm like, Ted, how did you not the no score first 3.5, 4.5, 5.5, 6.5, 7.5, all those came in an era where a touchback got you the 20. Now a touchback gets you the 35. And that made a huge difference on that opening drive. And I'm like, you can't bet this no score 3.5, 4.5, 5.5, 6.5, 7.5, 8.5 minutes anymore because the opening kickoff touchback gives the team that gets the ball, you need 1-2 first downs, you're in field goal range already, which is exactly what happened for Seattle on that first drive. So that's a bet that I made and advised my clients to make. And at the end of it, I'm like, that's stupid. That's not a bet you're going to be making every year anymore because of the new kickoff rules. So I felt like an idiot with that one. Seattle scored before they punt. First score of the game, field goal at the plus price. And that was 11:58 when Jason Myers hit that first field goal just after 3 minutes into the game. I didn't see the national anthem, by the way, Kel. Do you know if national anthem? I didn't remember if it went over or under.
It went under. And it was crazy because I always get a pretty good text. But here's the problem. You got to get it before all of the books take it down, right? Sure. And the second they start getting nailed, by the time I get the text, you're lucky to maybe get down a couple $100. Here was the problem. This year, the books didn't take it down. They just drastically dropped the line 3, 4, 5 seconds. And I thought, I can't bet this now. And of course, it still went under.
So, yeah, exactly. You couldn't bet the best of the number. Yeah, you could. I had that with the Knicks and the Celtics yesterday. I'm like, I can't bet it under. And yeah, you can. You missed.
Yeah, and that was honestly, I had several people that I told that I couldn't bet the Super Bowl under. Right? We did I think we did 44 interviews in 2.5 days, Ariel, and I did. So 15 minutes here, 10 minutes there. Grab a mic on the side of the road, talk to people, and I just said I didn't have the stones to take the under. And then when it was started off with 4 field goals, I'm thinking, golly, Kelly, but it did get spicy there in the second half.
Spicy? The game went over, got called back on a penalty.
I know.
I'm sitting there, that's a tough beat. Oh, no, there's a flag. Oh, wait, don't worry about it. But
I know,
Teddy. If you had the under in that game, you had a sweat that you didn't think you might necessarily have had. And you were very thankful for a late holding call that took away the Kenneth Walker touchdown. Walker still got the MVP, but he did not get the TD. By the way, for what it's worth, there were 3 DK commercials by the 11:58 mark of the first quarter, and nobody else had one.
Well, they listen. It's funny because we barely saw those guys on Radio Row, and the FanDuels of the world had their own giant corner, and we laughed that you didn't see a lot of the smaller representations of the books. And I'm like, I think I just realized. I think they just paid to be the only sports book on Radio Row. So I guess it would be arguing that maybe DraftKings paid to be the only commercial during halftime or during the game.
Yeah, no, the first 3 minutes, between the national anthem, I turned it on in the middle of the national anthem, and then between then and the first 3 minutes of the game, I'm like, I was, just tracking the burst. I'm like, that's the second one. That's a third. Wait a minute. I write it down. 3 DK converts. So New England returned their opening kick while Seattle took the touchback. So that was 7 extra yards that the Seahawks actually got. I'm like, if they do this all game, we talked about the Seahawks special teams edges. They were real in yesterday's ball game. New England first play was a run. Ramondre Stevenson, first carry went over. Both teams converted their first third down attempt in the ball game. Demario Douglas, first catch for 8 yards. First sack came from Derek Hall. And of course, Drake Maye first rush went 11 yards over. New England punted before they score. No touchback in that regard. 5 field goals over, obviously, but the 5 field goals, so total field goals went over. Myers field goals went over. Patriots, no field goals. So regular field did not go over. But the longest field goal of the game was only 41 yards. So the longest field goal stayed under, Kel.
It was weird. So I remember we were sitting there talking to Clay, and he was like, how do you see the game script? And I said that I wanted to bet over 3.5 field goals. You know how you can ladder it at the Westgate Superbook? They give you like 2.5 juiced, 3.5 might have been like minus 120, 4.5, right? And I was like, I like there to be a lot of field goals in this game. And I was this close to betting it. And Ariel goes, you know that the Patriots give up the least amount of field goals. The Patriots defense has given up the least amount of field goals all season long. And I was like, all right, I better just not. And then, of course, right out of the gate, over 3.5 field goals. I mean, before halftime, and I was thinking that was when I overthought. You know, and it's interesting because you're right. The Patriots scoring no field goals. I mean, I made a joke about kicking is for losers. I meant punting is for losers for Vrabel, but it's kicking nonetheless.
So I had the longest punt over 54.5 yards, and that was a sweat. It cashed. It got there when all said and done. But with all the punts that they had, I think there was only one that went over that number. I mean, between them, they a dozen punts or
at least.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, defensively in the first half, that was a pretty great game, right? And then it just kind of turned on its head there in the second, right after the Patriots went 3 and out, and you thought, all right, we're not going to see a rejuvenated second half from this team. I thought maybe at halftime, all right, they may come out, they may score a touchdown and maybe 12-7, right? And this game could get turned around for them, but no avail.
Sure. 15 punts, by the way, yesterday. Both guys kicked 55-yard punts in the bucket. And that was it was a fast game. Certainly the first half was really fast. You know,
that's a very good point. It was.
If we were doing that game, if we were doing End Zone Live. I know Sean Higgs did End Zone Live yesterday all by himself. With Jesse Shule in there for a while. Kudos to you, Sean. But if we were doing the End Zone Live like we do every Sunday during the regular season, right here on WagerTalk TV, that would have been the first game going to halftime, you know, because the first half was boom, boom, boom fast. And then obviously once the Bad Bunny and everything kind of slowed down in the second half, there was more scoring. But that was a relatively fast Super Bowl for what it was worth. There were no penalties, you know, a relatively penalty-free ball game. The key penalty obviously came on the touchdown that would have sent the game over in the end. But from a penalty standpoint, both teams played really clean. They finished with 7 penalties between them for a total of 50 yards, 7 accepted penalties between them. So the penalty props stayed over. Walker was not a lock for MVP, but he was a big favorite by the third quarter. He went over rushing yards in the first half. He went over rushing and receiving yards in the first half. He had the second reception he had that got him to 26, sent that over. Drake Maye less than 40 yards of offense in the first half. Or no, the Patriots had less than 40 yards of offense going to that final drive of the first half. First half, 8-4 on first downs. New England had 1 first down after the first quarter, between the first and the end of the third. I mean, Maye was just off. Drake Maye it was probably the worst game I've seen him play. Period. He saw the ghosts, not Sam Darnold. I talked about Darnold's elusiveness. You know, the Pats got sacked. Seattle escaped and made plays. Obviously, great day for kicking props. Bad day for return props. Bad day for the big plus price. We talked about it a little bit in some of the videos that I did. We talked about it last week, but there was no safety. There was no 2-point conversion. There was no octopus. There were no 4th down conversions. Yes, there was
one that I actually should go back in. Have you ever been like just not wanting to open your accounts, Teddy? Like that's what I was today. I was like, I'm just not going to look. I'm just not going to look today because I knew that it wasn't great. I did have no 4th down conversion. That was one of the props that I got a text about, plus 170, that the Eagles would not attempt a 4th down conversion. They would not even attempt one. So it was plus 170. So that was really nice to be able to cash that one. Now that you say that, now things are looking up for me. Maybe I should log in.
Yeah. So the two teams combined 0 for 0 on 4th downs in that ball game. Although total yardage in the game went over. the number. 666 total yards. What do you think about that, Cal? Between the two teams.
That's very interesting because you're absolutely right. You mentioned the Patriots in the first half, and it was like the joke was, I think somebody tweeted at halftime, Bad Bunny has more yards at halftime than the Patriots because, he's running around the whole stadium. Like they were joking about him having more yards than the Patriots. And I thought, man, it's probably true.
Let's see. Smith and Jigba was the one guy for Seattle who didn't catch anything. He went in for concussion protocol in the third quarter, and he really had a lousy, whatever. He didn't have the day that bettors were expecting. And of course, Christian Gonzalez gets some credit for that. He made plays all game. Christian Gonzalez, if the Pats would have won, which they were never in position to win, but in my mind, he was as important as any player in the game yesterday. For him, Chris Collinsworth gave him some love, and I thought he deserved it. And of course, no turnovers, no penalties, only one sack for Seattle. That was a mistake. Yellow Gatorade, yes. Defensive special teams touchdown, yes. 7 players had a rush attempt. Over under was 8. 2 players with a pass attempt. Over under was 2.5. Players with a reception, there were 15. The over under was 13.5. Seattle had 6. New England had 9, and a lot of that was the Patriots in their comeback attempt in the fourth quarter, which also sent Drake Maye's numbers over the total, while Sam Darnold stayed under the total. When you talk about the touchdown scorers, A.J. Barner, you got Owosu got one, Uchenna Owosu on the defense side, Matt Collins and Ramondre Stevenson. The books cleaned up on the touchdown props yesterday, and the quotes coming out of several books after the game were, it was a pretty good Super Bowl. Yeah, it was a good game. And I think the anytime touchdown scores that were the most popular players did not.
Well, Teddy, that's one thing, and I didn't want to call anybody out because I'm in the gray area in this industry, right? Like I'm not a big media personality on daytime TV. I'm a sports gambler, but like I do a lot of content on some of these outlets. And I saw a tweet from somebody who was pretty prominent say, oh man, the books are going to hate that they have to refund all these anytime touchdown scorer bets. And I was like, okay. So I just did a side tweet. I didn't retweet their tweet and was like, hey, just for reference, no touchdown was available as it is every single week and I know a lot of these guys are only seeing it for the Super Bowl, right? But every single week you walk into Circa, you walk into Westgate, you go into DraftKings, wherever. No is always an option, right? No touchdown scored, right? It was 121 at the Westgate Superbook. And they had some people bet it. I know Jeff Benson told Brett that several people had bet it actually for a small 5-figure loss for them that no touchdown would be scored. Obviously, we saw touchdowns. But I did find it really interesting that a lot of people who don't gamble every single week thought that they would get their money back based on someone if there was no touchdown scored.
Sure. People that don't gamble often have funny reactions to stuff that you and I take for granted. And I'm sure most of our audience take for granted. How about this? It cashed 14 years in a row, 16 years in a row. Now it's lost each of the last 2 years. Team to score last loses the game.
Ooh.
That was the one, Ralph. That was when Ralph started putting out that WagerTalk sheet. And by the way, guys, make sure you download that sheet. That sheet's so valuable. And it's free from wagertalk.com from Ralph's homepage. I think you have it on the main page. But that Super Bowl sheet is
it's under downloads. You guys can even go back and look at it. And from a historical perspective, the
history matters.
It does matter. It absolutely matters, especially so like Louis, one of the producers on the Kelly and Murray show, said, Kelly, I want to bet that there will be a touchback on the opening kickoff. And I said, oh, and I sent him Ralph's guide and I said, just be careful. And then of course he would have cashed his ticket. And I'm like, historically, this has not been a good bet.
But we have to be aware now that when we're talking about the kickoff stuff, everything that's old has got to be thrown in the trash, because with the new with the new rules, it changes the whole equation for first scores. And that's something I didn't think through properly.
No, and I didn't either, telling him, because again, my brain went immediately to history and thinking, this is not a good bet for you. I get it. It's plus money. It's enticing. It's exciting. Sure enough, it does make sense to not get too overzealous there in the end zone and just get your team in good field position right out of the gate.
Sure. Yeah, no doubt. But team to score last loses again. That's second straight year that's happened. Every Patriots rushing prop, every one of them went under except for two. Drake Maye's longest rush went over. He had a 16-yard rush. And Travion Henderson, he had 5.5. It was over 5.5 carries. He got to 6. That was it. Every other New England rushing prop stayed under.
Yep, Drake Maye under 6.5 rushing attempts. I thought him running for his life was going to be a good thing. Unfortunately, it wasn't.
So clearly Drake Maye was hurt yesterday. Okay, clearly Drake Maye was not 100%. Yeah, because that's something that the Patriots hid, and that's something that was not accurately reflected in the injury report, and that's something that if you bet New England, you did not get. That was not the Drake Maye that we've seen all year. It wasn't. He wasn't good. He missed open receivers. He saw ghosts. He didn't take off and scramble in positions where he normally would. He took sacks where normally he would be elusive. My takeaway was the Patriots lied on their injury report.
Listen, and that doesn't make me feel any better about my Patriots bet. I did 3 separate Boston radio hits. So there was a point in time on Radio Row where Ariel had to do like her ringer show. And just so happened my handler, Andrew, our babysitter for the week, was like, hey, I got you on Boston radio. Oh, and I got you on Boston radio. No, I got you on Boston radio. Don't you want to tell them your thoughts on the game? And I was like, oh, the Boston fans love me. I've been telling them they're a bunch of frauds all year long. And I kind of had to walk back some of it. But the nice thing about that, Teddy, is getting to sit there and talk to some of those guys, right? Because two of those guys are in Gillette doing their show every week, right? Like they are in the No one knew Drake Maye was hurt. I mean, and if they did, they kept it very close to the vest.
Sure. It was well hidden. You know what? So he was there were buzzes on both quarterbacks the first week. Hey, Darnold's not right. Hey, Maye's not right. And then neither guy was listed on the injury report. Second week, say, okay, you're not going to worry about it. But Maye was not anywhere near 100% yesterday. That certainly it cost me money. But honestly, it wouldn't. My thought process, and again, I took the Patriots. I'm not going to make any apologies for taking the Patriots. All right. I'm not laying more than a field goal in a Super Bowl. I'm not doing it. For me, it's a priori. I'm not doing it because I've seen enough Super Bowls to know, yeah, there are going to be games like yesterday. All right. And yesterday, that thought process probably hurt me because Seattle was certainly the better team on both sides of the football.
You mentioned his history. The underdogs have been cashing, if not winning outright, at a really great rate, Teddy.
Yes, the underdog. So I had 11-2 in the 13 Super Bowls this century of higher than a field goal, the underdog. But the issue wasn't just that history. The issue was, how did that happen? And in game after game in the Super Bowl, where I'm like, this team's better than that team. This team, this Giants team is garbage, dude. What, Eli Manning, really? I mean, over and over again in the Super Bowl. I remember the Niners-Ravens. We're like, Joe Flacco, really? This is early Joe Flacco, really? I mean, you can go through a bunch of them where there was clearly one team had been better than the other team all year. And then all of a sudden 2 weeks go by and the hype comes and then two teams are even. And that lesson has been driven into my brain in a way that it's not coming out. All right. And if we start to see blowouts, then maybe we'll change it. We see a couple more Super Bowls like the one we saw yesterday. But the fact that no matter how good they were a month and 2 months and 3 months ago versus how good they are today, what the history of the Super Bowl has shown me is that you don't want, even with the juggernauts against supposedly lesser squads. Now, New England played a crappy game yesterday. That was not the Patriots' A game. They didn't come close. Certainly on the offensive side, they didn't come close. I mean, they were, and I think a lot of it was Maye's injury. A lot of it was Seattle's defense. And if you watch the opening line report every week, I think it was about beginning of November where I started giving those Seahawks quotes, talking about how good this defense was, and the quotes coming out of that Seattle locker room saying this is the best defense ever played on. This is the best defense. This is a defense capable of doing something. And those are quotes we talked about from literally mid-season. It wasn't like December. That was maybe October, November. We were getting out the Seattle quotes.
In October,
and I had 3 or 4 weeks in a row where it was like the same type of quotes. And for what it's worth, Seattle's defense was the best.
That's the best part about the show, saying, hey, guess what? Hand up. We were wrong about this. I was wrong about that. Kelly was wrong about this. And here's how we're going to fix it. going forward, right? I think you admitted, hey, I was wrong on the Seahawks week 7, maybe. It was definitely October. And you said, hey, look, we lost this. We're going to move along. And here's where we're going to start to make money. Making those in-season adjustments can really mitigate some of your losses when you try to hang on to that you were wrong. And that's what I tried to do in the Super Bowl. It's like, all right, here's this narrative that I was pushing myself. Maybe I was wrong in that fact. I really do stand behind that the Patriots defense was absolutely solid. I really do stand behind that.
They were amazing yesterday.
That Sam Darnold was not some, MVP caliber quarterback out there. He was a good game manager. I'm going to give him that. I'm happy for Sam Darnold after all of the BS that he went through in New York. Imagine having to be a Jet and they just run you out of town. It is what it is. Happy for the guy. But in a different scenario, a healthy Drake Maye, I think that game could have gone vastly different. No
argument. That being said, they don't play him twice. They only play him once. So that's what I have on. I got more props. You want to do what? One last little prop salvo?
Well, real quick, Teddy, tell everybody what's going on right now. It's basketball season. We've got NBA going on. We've got college basketball going on. I feel like baseball season's going to be here before you know it. We've got all sorts of fun stuff this summer, like the World Cup that I know nothing about. You're not going to be doing any soccer, I'm assuming. Neither am I. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to be betting it.
The one thing I do, I stay in my lane. I've learned in this business, I know what I'm capable of and I know what I'm not, and I don't try to bite off more than I can chew. That being said, we got some great promos right now, and I want to start with one for next football season. All right, 2025 was not my best NFL work, plain and simple. That being said, I do not expect a repeat. I talk about hungry and motivated and ready, and I understand exactly what went wrong this year. I didn't believe my lying eyes nearly as much as I should have. It wasn't a disaster. I didn't bury anyone, but it wasn't a great year. Next year, we expect better. Right now, and this is the best price you're going to get on it, $4.99 complete NFL season from the first game of the preseason through next year's Super Bowl. It's as good a deal as you're going to get. It will not be cheaper ever. $4.99. Check it out on my homepage, WT.buzz/TC. You talked about hoops. Hoops has been good of late. We've been running hot in basketball, both college, 67% run in college. The NBA's been even better, over 70% in the NBA over the last couple of weeks, and obviously number one at WagerTalk in NBA action since 2022, over 200 units of profit. I love the association down the stretch. Use promo code BBall100. BBall100 is going to get you $100 off my NBA season pass or NBA in college full season pass. So again, we're looking for clients that want to stick around. All right. I'm not talking about getting a play. Full season NFL $4.99 right now. No promo code needed on my homepage. College and NFL college and NBA hoops or just NBA. Take $100 off full season. Promo code BBall100. I expect to make money. Bottom line, if you're interested, check out my homepage, WT.buzz/TC.
I also expect to make some money here in the upcoming basketball season. As I mentioned, March Madness is going to be right behind the corner. Sean Michael says, Teddy nailed the Knicks +3 yesterday. Money. We love to hear it. Teddy, I'll be getting involved in some NBA after the playoffs start. We all know right now it's kind of an interesting thing.
I love this time of year in the NBA. I love the dog days of March, when the markets are all March Madness paying attention.
I know Ski does. I know Vino does. Like, we've got lots of great NBA guys. I think I'm just not in it this late in the year, right? Because I was too busy in November. I was too busy focused on college football, college basketball, things like that. So let everybody know if they do want to get involved from NBA, like, where are you finding some edges right now?
So my whole thought process on NBA is that by a week into the season, by 2 weeks into the season, you have season-long stats, and they start to lie right away. All right? All I look for in the NBA is full season stats that are lying. I want teams that are hot just now. Just ride this team for a week or two, ride that team for a week or two, bet against this team for 3 weeks while this key role player got hurt. The markets aren't adjusting. This is a bet against squad. This is an over team right now. This is an under team right now. I look for the short-term streaks when you're watching NBA every night and you're paying attention to NBA night, you're going through every box score every night, you see the short-term stuff. And the markets don't adjust the way they should. I do. So I love the NBA, and I love it at this time of year because by February, you have these season-long stats. They're baked in. It takes the markets a month of good play for a team to adjust their power rating enough. And by the time they adjust it, that bump is gone, and now they're a bet against team, So you can really, I really ride some streaks this time of year in the association. It's been, profitable short-term, profitable long-term. Going to the All-Star break around the trade deadline can be a little tricky. But I stay true to my strategies and philosophies of how to beat the NBA. And I don't worry too much about this guy's playing or not. Some guys freak out on injuries. I don't freak out on injuries. I don't care, especially for teams that have depth. So that's stuff that we look for this time.
Teddy, we don't have any NFL questions, but we do have an NBA question. If you want to answer it, it's up to you. I know this is not an NBA show, but anything else you want to kind of wrap up, put a little bow on that 25-26 NFL season? Yeah,
I just want to go through one last bit of props. I graded them out last night for the show. I'm like, let's go through it. Will either team score three straight times? Yes. Will either team score 4 straight times? Yes. That was a nice plus price if you had that. Team to score first, Seattle. Team to score last, New England, at the plus price. Will both teams score in the first quarter? No. Will either team score in the first 3.5, 4.5, 5.5, 6.5, 7.5, 8.5 minutes? Yes. Seattle got that early field goal. Will either team score in the last 2 minutes of the first half? Yes. Another Seahawks field goal. Will they score in the final 3.5 minutes of the game? Yes, but not in the last 2 minutes of the game, for what it was worth. Will both teams have a lead in the first half? No. Will there be a lead change in the fourth quarter? No. That was a nice minus. Will the game be tied after 0-0? No. That was a favorite. Will there be a missed extra point kick? Was there a missed extra point? I wrote down, no, there wasn't a missed extra point yesterday.
No, I don't believe so, Teddy.
Yeah, I know there wasn't. I think I just wrote it down wrong. No. Will both teams make 33-yarder field goals longer? No. What else we got on here? Total touchdowns over under 5.5. Under. First score of the game will be touchdown any other. Any under at the plus price. Longest touchdown of the game over 36.5 yards. That came on the defensive score. Shortest touchdown of the game over 1.5 yards. They never got the 1 yard TD. Of course, they only had 4.
You're right. There was no tush push this year.
Yeah. Total yardage of all made field goals went over because it went over. Distance of the last touchdown of the game was 7 yards, was over under 8.5. Total yardage of all touchdowns in the game, 76.5. That went over, again, thanks to the 44-yard. It was originally ruled as a fumble, but then later changed to an interception, which was very, very good for my bankroll. So there you go. There's some last props for you. Let's talk next year. Want to talk some future book odds?
Yeah, why not?
I do not recommend betting on any of these at this stage. That being said, what we're looking for right now, and I got MGM numbers here, bet MGM numbers. If you would go to the Westgate, you're going to find comparable. The Circa, you're going to find comparable. You can shop around. But the concept is tiers. We're looking for the different tiers of teams for 2026. And what we're looking for about the future book right now, we're looking for long shots that are live. Obviously, last year, we had 2 long shots that were live in terms of Seattle and New England, both paid better than 50-1 if you bet them at this time of the year. Do we have any teams like that this year? So, looking at the BetMGM numbers at the opener for the 2026 Super Bowl, Seahawks 8-1, Rams 9-1, Ravens and Bills 12-1, Packers and Eagles 14-1, Lions, Chiefs, Chargers, and Patriots 15-1. So that's your tier of the favorites, maybe 49ers at 17-1. Those would be the favorites. Seahawks, Rams, Ravens, Bills, Packers, Eagles, Lions, Chiefs, Chargers, Patriots, and 49ers. It's a lot of favorites. At 20-1, Broncos, Texans, Jaguars. 3 live teams, probably. 25-1, the Bears. I think the Bears probably take a step back next year. I don't know if you a big step back, but I don't know if they're going to be able to have the type of success in winning all the close games like they did this year. 30-1, Bengals, Cowboys. 40-1, Colts, Buccaneers. Colts might be interesting at 40-1. Vikings, 50-1. That's something I might look. Commanders, 50-1. Falcons and Giants, 66-1. Now we're getting to the real long shot. Steelers, 80-1. Panthers, Titans, 100-1. Browns, Raiders, Saints, 150-1. Cardinals, Dolphins, Jets, 250-1. Of those 3, I mean, the Jets aren't live, but Arizona probably is, right? Nah, not so much. But I don't look at the Cardinals or Dolphins as any worse than Saints or Browns. and to see those two teams at 100 to an extra 100 to 1 versus the 150 to 1 for the Browns and the Saints is a bit of a surprise to this better. I don't see that huge disparity between those bottom three and the three just above them. That being said, those aren't teams I expect to win the Super Bowl in 2026. I will not be putting any of my money on this future book wager. And there's no reason to bet any of these right now. This is for information purposes only at this
Teddy,
stage.
would you say that you should not bet any of these until at least we have the schedules coming out?
Yes.
Or after the draft? I mean, when do you recommend people like actually start to take some of these numbers seriously?
I don't. So these are numbers that I bet. I don't bet NFL futures like that. One team's going to win, the other 31 are going to lose.
Yes.
Okay. If you want to bet these, I would certainly recommend. So I start realistically looking to bet win totals after the draft comes out. After the schedule comes out, because the schedule to me is much more important than the draft. The draft. Everyone's wrong about every draft opinion that there is. All right. No one knows. The one thing you get of the draft is this team's trying to win this year because they're making win now moves. This team's playing for next year because they're making win later moves. So that can point you in a direction. But in terms of these players got drafted by this team, therefore they're way better. Just no. The pundits are wrong, the GMs are wrong, the bettors are wrong. The drafts are in terms of predicting them are fairly random. So if you're going to get involved in the future book market, I would look later rather than sooner. And certainly once the schedule comes out, you have the list of opponents already, but you don't have any of the nuances of that schedule. And the nuances of the schedule matter a lot. And certainly when in terms of the factors that get you the position to be in the Super Bowl, like getting home field advantage in the playoffs, like Seattle had, and New England had for the first two games. If New England's going to Houston or New England's going to LA, might be a very different participant in the Super Bowl this year from the AFC. But they got those two home games, and they played a team with a backup QB in the championship game, which gave them the route to get there. So, yeah, there you have it, Kel. I don't know. I feel like I'm rambling now. You take over for a minute.
No, I think that's pretty much all I had. I got to get a little bit of my venting out. You made me feel better about Drake Maye's performance. Teddy, any final thoughts that our audience needs to know before we don't see them until summertime?
Yeah. So look, guys, again, we really appreciate all the likes, all the comments, all the follows. You guys give us so much support, the positive feedback during the regular season. It really helps. Thank you for watching every week. Thank you for telling your friends about our show. And of course, we're going to do it again. I ain't going anywhere. You guys can hate me. You guys can love me. Do what you like. But Detroit Lions, Phoenix Sundust got it right. Next year the Lions here, isn't it, Cal?
Good grief. The poor Lions. I feel so bad for you and Johnny Detroit. Imagine growing up there and having to deal with such a long-suffering franchise. Maybe it'll be the Bills' turn, too. We'll see how that plays out for the 2027 Super Bowl. By the way, guys, it is on Valentine's Day, so start getting your excuses in now.
I want to ask you about this, Cal, because it's actually really a big deal, all right? Because this is the first one ever on Valentine's Day. And Valentine's Day is a different dynamic. You guys out there understand, I don't think that's going to help you.
Would it shock you to hear that I could care less about Valentine's Day?
So I wish, well, I'm not, let me phrase this correctly.
No, just say it. Just say what you're going to say.
I was good. In that case, I wish you were my wife, but I don't wish you were my wife because you and I would be a horrible couple. But my wife is, well, what are you doing for Valentine's Day? Well, Super Bowl's on Valentine's Day, And I love my wife, but it's going to be an issue. And I'm really interested to see how these battles play out across the country. I got to think viewership's down. I got to think there's going to be a lot of women you're taking me out for Valentine's Day. Kara's like, F you ignore me all year. You're taking me out, and you're taking me out nice for Valentine's Day. And she's right. I do ignore her all year, and I do it. I get it. So and then of course our anniversary is the next day, so it's Valentine's Day anniversary. And of course, me, Kel, I got married. Literally, I got married that weekend because I'm like, the Super Bowl's over and the NBA's on All-Star break, and I can get married this weekend. And then the Super Bowl's, and then the NFL's like, oh, we're going to go to 17 games, and then they push the All-Star break, the NBA All-Star break back, and it's the best laid plans of mice and men. So I'm sorry. I'm going on.
Oh, good luck to everybody. I saw that and I was like, oh boy. Again, I don't care. I'd rather go out on a random Tuesday in April, but I understand where some women might really prefer the pomp and circumstance that goes along with it. And if they don't get it, there could be some battles, unfortunately, for you guys. And no, Sean Michael, do not propose on Valentine's Day, please, for the love of God. Again, random Tuesday in April, much better day. Don't do it on Valentine's Day. Just some personal opinions here, or any other holiday, or her birthday. You're welcome.
Though, if look, if the clock's ticking and you got to propose, then
do it today.
But if you don't do it on Valentine's Day, you feel it. She knows you didn't propose to her then. It's like,
then do it on Friday afternoon before Valentine's Day.
Okay.
Then do it Thursday night. I don't care. Please don't do it on Valentine's Day. It's so cheesy. Okay. I'm off my pulpit. You guys have been the best. Over 2,000 of you guys watching with us live here. The Monday morning after Super Bowl. Hopefully none of you are too hungover. I am not. I should have drank through that Super Bowl because that's how bad it was. But I elected to be a good citizen of the world so I could be present for all of you here with Teddy Covers like we have been every single Monday morning. At Teddy_covers on all your social channels. Teddy will be around for basketball season, and then we will see you guys this summer. Go ahead, Teddy.
Yeah, I just want to give that promo code one more time, guys. If you want, again, this was not my best NFL season. All right, I don't hide it. All right, I'm not embarrassed by it. I didn't do great. All right, I didn't. My clients didn't get buried, but it wasn't great. I expect better next year. $4.99 right now, NFL full season on my homepage. WT.buzz/TC, or take $100 off the basketball, NBA or NBA and college combined. Use promo code BBALL100 at WT.buzz/TC. Thanks for watching. We appreciate you guys. Have a great summer. Have a great spring. And I guess we'll see you. We'll see you come summertime.
Bye, guys. Thank you again. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on the WagerTalk YouTube channel so you never miss another second of all of our live free shows and, of course, free picks here on WagerTalk.com.